Ford Australia, if you're watching this, what the f were you thinking? Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Ford Ranger Super Duty. Maybe it's even made its way onto my all-time grail cars list. But the reason I started this video how I did is because I think this new update variation of the Super Duty is the best one yet. I'm even gonna go out on a limb and say, if I was gonna buy one, this would be the only spec trim option layup that I would own. That is why I think Ford lost their mind when they didn't release these cars with the first wave of the Super Duty. Now, over a year ago, we had the Inner Circle where we looked at a prototype Ford Ranger Super Duty, which looked almost identical to this in the traction green with a tub on the back. But then when they came to market, we only got the cab chassis variant. There was no factory tub option. But the real cool difference here is that this has the XLT package on it, which means we got a whole bunch of fancy features that a car of this sort of price range really deserves. This guy's coming in at around $999,990. So you got 10 bucks change. You go get yourself a coffee or something. But you get a shitload of car for that sub $100,000 bracket. And I was chatting to a few of the boys before, and I don't think there's a brand new car on the market that can tow 4.5 ton, have a 4.5 ton GVM. It's available for under 100 grand. And if there is, correct me in the comments below. And while you're there, make sure you hit that red subscribe button too. Now, this is the updated Super Duty. This is the Ranger Super Duty XLT. This is an exciting update to the platform, but we need to address a couple of elephants in the room before we dive into this car and show you why I think this is the best setup for the Super Duty and the only trim option I would have. 2 clips came out on social media over the past probably 6 or so months, I guess exposing the Ranger Super Duty. And don't get me wrong, Ford Rangers have in the past had their reliability woes, but it's nothing to be that alarmed about. And I wanted to basically just shed some clarity on those 2 scenarios. The first was Jock had one of these on test at full drive 24/7. That car seemingly shit the bed, had an alternator malfunction that basically killed the whole car. Now, Ford obviously took that very seriously, and the story behind that is that that particular car was a press car that we had just been driving. It had just done about 3 weeks of mud bogging, and then they trucked it straight from there up to the guys for them to do that road test. So on that test, the alternators obviously failed. There must have been some silt and mud in the alternator, I think is what they said. And that's why it failed. So it had done almost a month of repetitive mud bogging as a whole bunch of journalists basically ran a train on the thing. But what's important is that there is an updated variation to the alternator in these vehicles now to protect them from the elements that little bit better and to stop any sort of contamination ingress into the bushes and brushes of that alternator to ensure that they're always going to charge and keep the vehicle running and operating. So they haven't just gone, oh, that's a bit shit. Ford have listened to the feedback, seen the issue, and then actually addressed it and have fixed that problem. And that is an isolated incident to that vehicle too. The second incident was Alec, you cheeky bastard, I know you're probably watching this, from Winners Locker, had one that I believe they picked up from a local dealership on the Gold Coast that they were going to give away through their Winners Locker platform, which is all well and good. It's a fantastic car, and if you won it, I think you'd be stoked. But they had an issue where it looked like the car ran on a whole bunch of smoke as if it was doing a DPF regeneration, a whole bunch of things. It was free revving, it was a whole thing. And a lot of people were very quick to jump on the jump on the internet and go, Ford, yep, typical, blah, blah, blah. But it turns out the dealership that they got that car from, one of the technicians had actually put the entirely wrong fuel in it and basically killed the car. So it wasn't actually a Ford thing, it was a human error. But that being said, not a great look, but I'm hopefully here to suggest and tell you otherwise, because I freaking love these cars, man, especially this color in this exact trim. So maybe drop a comment what your perspectives and thoughts are on those 2 social media issues that arose on the Ford Super Duty. over the past couple of months, and if you would still own one after those two things have been now mentioned and rectified. A quick recap on what this car is, based off the Ford Ranger, but also not really. It's all revised guards, bonnet, chassis, diffs, driveline, everything. Retuned motor, 4.5 ton towing, 4.5 ton GVM, 8 ton GCM. You've got, you know, your factory steel bumper up here. You've got your 8 stud wheels down there. You've got factory 33-inch all-terrains. You've got this most insane upgraded suspension you'd ever see, an insane rear diff, the ability to just tow and carry absolutely anything your heart could desire. But there was always something missing. And that for me was the fact that you were spending, you know, $90,000 on a ute, and it was just a little bit agricultural. It was a bit like getting into a Land Cruiser, but they've updated it now and I'm really excited by it. I think the first thing and the most obvious thing is probably going to be that tub on the back. So let's cut here and we'll run up the back of this car and we'll show you why I'm in love with it.
Something better come my way before I freak the fuck out. Okay, I know I gotta start looking too, but oh my god, I think I'm doomed. Like every minute it gets harder, rank gets steeper, and soon enough I'm gonna meet my reaper. Is this all we get? A couple cheap laughs and a deep regret, baby. You are just another thing I'm lost to, tally up the pain I caused.
Now I think a ute, a lot of the time, if it's going to be, I guess, set up like this as a jack of all trades, a tub is a really hard thing to go by to not love on these things. The Ford Ranger Raptor has the tub and I think they look so aggressive and sick with the sort of pumped rear hips, and that's exactly what Ford have managed to emulate with the Ranger Super Duty in this new update. The front of this car is wide, it's got shoulders, it's aggressive, it's got big flares that are squared off, it's incredibly staunch. And I think with the tray or the cab chassis options, it just lacked a little bit of that staunchness, that hardness. But they've gone and put this reinforced, redesigned, unique box on the back of this car now. It looks so good. We've got the big hips, we've got it flowing with the front, we've got the massive flares, we've got that all integrated now into the tub. It's been reinforced, it's stronger than a standard Ford Ranger tub. It's got all the same trimmings that you know and love, all the functionality. You would have seen on the cab chassis options, there was the DAT bar, which basically was almost like a rear crash bar down near the tow bar that had to house all the sensors, your reversing sensors, your blind spot monitoring, and all that sort of stuff. It always looked like a bit of an afterthought, but it was kind of worth it because of the tech that you got out of it. But now it's all integrated up into this factory rear bumper, into the tail lights, into the actual body of the vehicle. So I think from the rear of the car, it looks a lot more aggressive. You've got more ground clearance at the back, you've got the integrated side step into the side of the tub, you've got all your usual stuff, you've got clamping spots on the top of the tailgate here, we've got our brand new flat logo here, so you'll notice that all the branding is updated. You've got your Super Duty branding here too, which is sick. You'll notice obviously you've got your hitch camera here, as well as all your tow package and all that sort of stuff, as well as rated recovery points. In the back here, a couple of cup holders, which is pretty standard. You've got all your movable and relocatable tie down points, as well as your fixed mounts, as well as your pre-wired power socket and stuff like that in the back. And it's worth noting that these plastic tub liners are now a completely standard option in the Ranger Super Duty platform, which is really exciting too. One thing that's also come with this update is that you can now get a Ford factory optioned canopy that sits on this and completely weather seals the rear section here. But what's really cool, and I guess it just sort of really beats home that Ford actually listen to customers, is generally with those fiberglass style canopies that sit on top of tubs, you don't have a solution for your mirror unless you run aftermarket. So you might go to something like a Polaris rear view mirror and that sort of thing. But if you option it up now from Ford, not only do you get that waterproof canopy cover, it's color coded, it looks fantastic, but they replaced the rear view mirror in the car with a digital one and put a camera up on the top of the actual canopy. So you get a digital readout of your rear view, so you still get that functionality, which is really cool because otherwise you would just have a pointless mirror. and it would just be one other extra thing you'd have to add aftermarket. So it's really exciting to see. I think this particular trim level is definitely one of the sickest looking utes now on the market. It's wide, it's aggressive, it looks a little bit Baja, looks a little bit Dakar, but it's also still super functional, which I like. And, you know, for under 100 grand, you're getting a lot of car. Now this is exciting, don't get me wrong, but where the XLT options really sing is the interior. It's lifted this car into the 21st century, it's made it a lot more luxe feeling. So, let's jump in the car and let's talk about that. Now there's a million and one reasons why the Superduty is such an important car to the Australian market. No one is doing what Ford are doing when it comes to this mid-size ute and giving it all the it's packing the punch of a much bigger vehicle like your F-150s and your Chevs and your Rams and that sort of thing. It's super, super sick to see. You've got that massive fuel tank capacity, massive AdBlue capacity. So you've got 1,100, 1,200 kilometers of fuel range before you have to refuel. You've got selectable DPF regeneration, so you can turn it off when you're in scrub like where we are here in the Bendelby Ranges. You've got so much tech that Ford have really thought about. But there was always, like I said, something missing. Now we've spent a lot of time the past few days here in the Bendelby Ranges in South Australia. We are right on the, the neighbouring side of the Flinders Ranges, an absolutely beautiful part of the world. It is insanely green right now, which is just absolutely crazy to see. Last time I was here in 2024 with the 79, it was not green whatsoever. So it's really crazy to see the contrast and the juxtaposition. But after spending a couple of days and a fair few hours driving these things, I'm so glad the XLT has now got the trimmings of, a much higher spec car. I get that these were designed for the mine site. I get that they were designed for, the agriculture industry and the trade industry, but there's a lot of people with a lot of money that want these things to be comfortable and luxurious, and now we finally have that. So, where you are, guys, you're basically sitting in the passenger seat. You're looking at an 8-stage electric adjustable seat. You've got heated and ventilated seat right there. Over here, 10-way adjustable electric seat, heated and ventilated, which the previous models didn't have intentionally. The non-XLTs have got cloth seats and a vinyl floor, whereas the XLT now gets a whole bunch of leather appointed, leather wheel, got your leather center console lid. The seats are now trimmed fully in leather with this sort of unique and specific to the Superduty pattern in them. We've got carpet on the floors instead of vinyl. We've got these heavy duty rubberized floor mats as well that are come standard in the vehicle too, to protect that carpet. But overall, it's just a much nicer place to be. You've still got all the same sort of tech. You've got your digital cluster in front of you. You've got your 12-inch screen over here in that portrait sort of landscape. But it's just a lot nicer. It's really hard to explain. The reason why it was cloth seats and vinyl interior before is because it was for trades and for fleet customers and for mine sites where, yeah, there's a million different people. It's literally the town bike. Everyone's getting a ride, and it's just, there's going to be shit all in there, and you needed to be able to basically hose out the footwell, wipe it out and keep going. But to have the carpet and to have the leather, it just adds that level of luxury that this thing was really missing, I think. And I'm a massive, massive fan of it, because now you get into it and it feels like a $100,000 car. It actually feels like more than a $100,000 car. I can't believe how much car you actually get for that 100 grand. It's absolutely insane. They've done really, really well in here, Ford. There's very little things to critique, I think. We've done some rock crawling, as you guys have all seen. We've done some insane driving in some of the most beautiful country I've been to in a long, long time. And these things just absolutely ate it up for breakfast. They're taller, they're wider, they're stronger than a traditional Ford Ranger. You've seen this all before. I've spoken to this in countless episodes. If you want any of those hardcore nitty-gritty facts, go and watch the previous episodes where we break them down a lot more in-depth in the technical side of things. But this is more focused about the updates. What's changed, what's new, what the problems were, how they've addressed them, and why I think this is the spec for you. Anyway, let's jump to the front. I just want to run you through the new wheels on this thing because they're so sick, and then we'll say goodbye. For starters, definitely not my tyre of choice. We actually had one of these guys get slashed on this trip. First thing I'd be changing would be throwing a set of Maxxis Razors on here, probably even 35s, because you can. This thing will happily handle 35-inch tyres with no lift and no other modifications. It is insane. Plus, because they come factory on these 33-inch all-terrains, it's basically legal to just chuck a set of 35s on and go, which is really, really cool. We've spoken before about the 8-stud hubs that basically borrowed straight from the American F250 Super Duty, which is absolutely insane. And they've had to do that because of a couple of reasons. One is they needed that clamping force and clamping pressure to be able to take up and accommodate for the torque load. We're not talking engine torque, but we're talking the actual rotational torque, the stresses and the fatigue through the driveline and that sort of thing. And also, one of the engineers, funnily enough, said a lot of people in the market will have a really heavy vehicle and keep it 5 or 6 stud, and a lot of the time the rims that they're choosing to put on those vehicles are not capable and aren't rated for the axle loads that that car now has. Whereas by making this car an 8-stud vehicle, you're forcing people to think about it, and if you're buying an 8-stud wheel, it's basically only for an American truck. So they're all rated enough to take the load of these vehicles. So it's actually a bit of a double-edged sword, and it's actually kind of clever if you do think about it. But also, how sick are these rims? So you can still get them with the steel rims because a lot of mine sites and agriculture industry demands that the car does have steel rims, not alloys. But these alloy rims, obviously specific to the Super Duty, they're all debossed. They look absolutely insane. They're kind of giving like turbofan, you know, just imagine it without that. It's giving turbofan, which is really, really cool. And it's obviously all intentional too, to feed air into those massive brakes. Everything's intentional on this car. Upgraded cooling fans, the grille's been opened up on the front to allow more airflow to the radiator. Everything is intentional on these cars, which is really, really cool. Anyway, this is the Ford Ranger Super Duty XLT. It's the updated model. They've revised some things, they've changed some things, and they've given us a car that I thought couldn't improve on before, but they somehow have. It's absolutely sick. Drop a comment below on whether you would own it in this spec, or whether maybe you'd go cab chassis, or if 100 grand is just crazy money and I'm just living in dream world. Anyway, if you haven't already, subscribe. I appreciate the support. Hopefully you love this car as much as I do. We'll see you next Thursday.